Dragon Ball. I picked up a lot of fighting power. Chapter 11. Goku, hurry up and make a wish. Goku nodded seriously, then turned to Shenlong and said, Shenlong, please let my grandfather Son Gohan be resurrected. I'm sorry, I can't fulfill this wish. Hearing Shenlong's words, Goku's face suddenly darkened, his eyes gradually became moist, and he slowly lowered his head. Why? Shenlong. Zie frowned slightly, and asked suspiciously, in his impression, Shenlong can obviously resurrect people. Son Gohan refuses to be resurrected, I can't change his will. Shenlong explained lightly. Hearing this, Goku's expression eased a lot and returned to his previous demeanor. Goku, it seems that your grandfather is doing well over there, so don't worry. Midnight patted Goku's shoulder and said comfortingly. Thank you, Midnight. Goku smiled and nodded. Name your other wishes. The majestic voice of the divine dragon sounded again. Since everyone has no wishes, then I'm welcome. Looking at everyone's hesitant appearance, Midnight said unceremoniously. Shenlong, can you let me have an immortal body? Hearing this, Shenlong couldn't help but hesitate a little, and only after a moment did he speak again. This. I'm afraid not. There is no absolute immortal body in this world. At least my ability can't do it. If it's just immortality or resurrection of a person, I may be able to. Hearing this, Midnight touched my chin and thought again. Shenlong, then trouble me to have the ability to recover quickly. Midnight spoke. I can satisfy you as much as I can. In the next second, Midnight only felt that a mysterious power flowed into his body, and after circulating around his body, he disappeared. Your wish has been fulfilled, goodbye. After saying that, the figure of the divine dragon slowly disappeared, and the Dragon Ball also scattered in all directions. Why did the Dragon Balls fly away? Goku asked with a puzzled look. Because after the dragon fulfills its wish, the Dragon Balls will be scattered around the world, and it will not be restored until a year later. Bulma explained lightly. Then I have to wait a year before I find my grandfather's relics. Goku asked lightly. Theoretically, that's it. Bulma nodded and said. Then, he looked at Midnight on the side, slowly leaned to his side, his face became blushing, and asked in a low voice, I plan to return to the western capital at midnight, do you want to join me? Hearing this, Midnight shook his head and said, Goku and I have promised the Turtle Immortal that we will go to him to cultivate after the matter is completed. Although it understands Bulma's intentions, but now he just wants to become stronger. After all, this world is very dangerous, not to mention that the heavens gave him the opportunity to cross and gave him a golden finger, naturally he should not continue to do nothing. Yes, I still want to be stronger. Goku also nodded and said with a smile. You still don't think you're strong enough? Oolong asked with a look of disdain. Martial arts never ends, there is no strongest, only stronger. Midnight immediately interjected. That's right. Goku smiled and nodded. What to cultivation madman, whatever you want. Bulma couldn't help but roll her eyes and said. Oolong, what about you? Where are you going? Hearing Bulma's inquiry, Oolong couldn't help but ask. Hey, didn't you promise to take me to Exodus and introduce kind girls to me? What about this? No girl like you will like it. Bulma covered her mouth and said with a snicker. HMPH, you don't need to worry about this. Oolong hugged his chest with his hands and said unconvinced. By the way, Bulma, can you leave your Dragon Ball radar to Goku so that he can go looking for his grandfather's relics in a year's time? Midnight suddenly spoke. Of course. Bulma nodded with a smile, then took the radar out of her pocket and handed it to Goku's hands. Thank you, Bulma. Midnight, or as thoughtful as you think. Goku said with a grateful look. Midnight, Goku. I plan to go to the western capital with Bulma, and I hope you can become masters like Teacher Wushan. Yamcha said as he hugged his fist towards the two. Okay, then let's part with that. Watching the figures of Midnight and Goku gradually disappear into the distance, Bulma's face couldn't help but show a trace of loneliness, and then after running a few steps, she shouted loudly. Midnight, when you have time, you must come to Exodus to find me. After separating from Bulma and the others, Midnight and Goku began to move towards the place where the Turtle Immortal was, and after traveling for nearly 3 days, the two finally came to the island where the Turtle Immortal was. Grandpa, we're coming. Goku raised his voice and shouted at the house in front of him. However, after half a ring, there was never the slightest movement inside. Is there no one inside? Midnight said with a puzzled face. Let's go inside and take a look. After that, the two pushed open the door alone and walked in, only to see the turtle immortal sitting cross-knee in front of the TV at this time, watching intently, the woman doing calisthenics in the video. Saliva fell on the floor drop by drop. Grandpa, we came to see you. Goku walked up to the turtle immortal and roared loudly. Goku, why are you here at midnight? The turtle immortal then asked. The Dragon Ball has been found. According to the agreement, we will come here to practice. Midnight said lightly. So that's the case, you guys go and sit on the side first, don't disturb me watching TV. But Grandpa, I'm hungry. Goku said as he covered his face with unhappiness covering his face. There's food in the fridge, don't bother me. With that, the turtle fairy stopped paying attention to Goku and continued to watch the TV intently. And Goku rushed into the kitchen excitedly, chuckled at Midnight, and then sat alone on the sofa, casually picked up a magazine on the table. Who knew that just opened it, a variety of swimsuit beauties came into view, shook his head helplessly, and casually put the magazine back. After about 30 minutes, the beautiful gymnastics on the TV finally ended, and the turtle fairy stood up with hesitation, and when he saw that there was only Midnight on the sofa, he couldn't help but ask suspiciously, where did that guy run away from Goku? Midnight chuckled and said meaningfully, he went to the kitchen and hasn't come out yet. Seeing the strange smile of Midnight, the turtle immortal curiously entered the kitchen again, but the scene in front of him completely shocked him, and an inexplicable annoyance surged in his heart. Goku, you ate all my food. Did you know that this is my meal for a week? The turtle fairy said angrily. Haha, so full. Goku touched his rounded belly and said with a smile. Are you sure you want to practice with me? My cultivation is very strict. The turtle immortal turned around and said in a deep voice. It's okay, we have eaten everything. Midnight said with a firm face. Uh-huh. Goku immediately nodded vigorously. But I won't teach you to practice in vain, unless you can bring me a girl on point. The turtle immortal said playfully. It's too easy, leave it to me. With that, Goku quickly ran out of the room, sat on the somersault cloud and walked away. Are you sure Goku knows what punctual means? Midnight touched his head and said suspiciously. After a while, Goku returned to the turtle immortal house on a somersault cloud, and saw a beautiful girl with white skin sitting on the somersault cloud, looking at the turtle fairy with affection. I really saw Goku first, but I didn't expect his aesthetic to be quite normal. Midnight couldn't help but say with emotion. Goku did a good job, now start your first training. The turtle fairy blushed and walked up to Goku and whispered in his ear. Go get me that girl's panties. Panties. Hearing this, I couldn't help but be stunned. Then without much thought, he walked towards the girl. That, Grandpa, she said she wasn't wearing panties. Sun Wukong shouted loudly. Nani. Hearing this, the turtle immortal immediately came to his senses and quickly ran to the girl's side, but when he saw the girl's identity, his face darkened. It turned out to be a mermaid. I am where in the world is there such a good thing? But this mermaid's body is quite good. The old face of the turtle immortal blushed, and then showed a shy smile, and said embarrassedly, Miss, can I touch your chest? Quote. Snap. When the mermaid heard this, his face instantly became embarrassed, and he slapped it directly, and then jumped into the sea. Grandpa, can we cultivate? Goku asked eagerly. Quote. Goku, you have to help me bring back a girl again. This time you will also go at midnight. I don't believe Goku's vision. The turtle immortal covered his red and swollen face and said. Do you have to look for it again? Okay. Midnight and Goku nodded at the same time. Huh. What is that? It seems to be a boat. Ha. As the boat slowly approached the shore, a short bald man dressed in a Shaolin temple costume jumped off the boat and quickly ran to the side of the turtle immortal. Who are you? The turtle immortal asked curiously. You are teacher Wushan. My name is Klin. I came from far away Tokyo, and I specially worshipped you as a teacher. Klin bowed deeply and said politely. Then you may have to run for nothing. I am determined not to accept disciples anymore, you better go back. The turtle immortal turned away and refused. Teacher Wushan, this is my worship ceremony. Clint put down his luggage, took out a thick magazine of beautiful women, and handed it to the turtle fairy. I didn't expect you to be so hardy. The turtle immortal's eyes lit up, and then he grabbed the magazine in Clint's hand and squatted on the ground to study it carefully. After appreciating, the turtle immortal gave a dry cough, stood up and said, "Since the three of you want to worship the teacher, then I will give you a test. As long as you can bring me a beautiful girl, I will accept you." Hearing this, the three nodded in unison, and then flew away from the turtle immortal house under the leadership of Goku Duyun. Where are we going to find beautiful girls for Grandpa? This test seems to be difficult. Goku put his hands on his head and said with some embarrassment. It's actually quite simple. At this time, Clint behind him suddenly laughed badly and said, "What do you say?" Midnight asked curiously. "Do you have any money on you?" Hearing this, Midnight and Goku both shook their heads. Ah, that's trouble. Clint frowned. He originally thought of spending money to hire a beautiful nanny for the turtle immortal to go back, who knew that the three of them were actually poor. "Who are you? Help!" Suddenly, a shrill cry for help sounded. "What's going on over there?" "Goku, let's go take a look," Midnight said lightly. "Good." Goku nodded, and then flew over in this somersault cloud. At this time, not far from Midnight, two policemen armed with pistols and police handcuffs cornered a beautiful girl in a long blue dress. "Lanchi, just grab it. You know me," Lanchi said with a puzzled look. "HMPH, less garlic, you female bandit." Hearing the other party's words, Lanchi's face changed slightly, and she shouted loudly, "Robber! I see, you must be robbers. Help, who will save me? Stop, you bad guys are bullying a girl." I saw Goku roar, and then jump down from the somersault cloud. Lost Goku's help. Midnight and Clint also fell from the somersault cloud. Fortunately, Midnight was strong, and he landed smoothly, but Clint was miserable, and directly fell and broke the blood. "There are actually accomplices. Don't move, otherwise I will shoot." The policeman pointed a gun at the three Goku and said threateningly. "Goku, be careful at Midnight, don't be impulsive, they have guns in them." However, before Clint finished speaking, Goku rushed over, flicked the golden hoop rod in his hand hard, knocked out all the pistols of the two, and then punched and kicked, knocking the two to the ground. You actually dare to attack the police, you wait for me." The two who got up from the ground said a cruel word to Goku, and then flew away in a police car in a panic. "Goku, Midnight, did you hear what they just said?" Clint asked with some concern. "It seems to say that they are police officers. This name, at first hearing, does not sound like a good person. The plot needs, there is no slightest meaning of slander, don't think crooked." Goku said with an innocent look. Quote, "Aren't we attacking the police?" Clint said with a look of fear. "You say, if she was arrested by the police, wouldn't she be a good person?" "It doesn't look like it." Goku said softly. "Thank you for saving me, little friend." "You're welcome." Goku touched his head and said proudly. "Huh. What is it?" Quote. Lanchi's eyes lit up, ran to Goku's somersault cloud, and said curiously. "What a big marshmallow. This is not a marshmallow. It's called a somersault cloud." Goku touched his nose and explained. "Duyun. What a strange name." Lanchi said with an innocent look, and then stretched out her hand and stroked it on the somersault cloud, and then sat up gently. "Ah. You can actually sit on the somersault cloud, then you must be a good person." Goku said resolutely. "In that case, let's take her back. I don't think she's very smart, there should be nowhere to go." Midnight suddenly suggested. "Good." With that, the four of them flew together in the direction of the turtle immortal house on a somersault cloud. The cloud streaked a long golden line in the sky, and soon came to the turtle immortal house. "What a beautiful house," Lanchi said with an innocent look. "Grandpa, we're back, we're bringing you a particularly beautiful girl." Goku excitedly jumped off the somersault cloud and shouted loudly. Hearing this, the turtle immortal immediately rushed out of the house, and when he saw Lanchi, he immediately jumped up excitedly. "You guys are doing well, from now on, you three will be my apprentices." The turtle immortal nodded and said with satisfaction. "Beautiful young lady, welcome to the Hanshi," the turtle immortal said very politely. "Hello, Grandpa, thanks to your grandson for saving me, thank you so much." Lanchi bowed slightly and said gratefully. You're welcome. In fact, the three of them are not my grandsons, but my younger brothers. Hearing the words of the turtle immortal, the faces of several people changed, and they looked at the turtle immortal who dared to say anything big. Haha, I'll have a joke with you. Seeming to feel the embarrassment of anger, the turtle immortal smiled and touched his head before explaining. I think you're joking too. Lan Qi wiped the sweat from her forehead, and after laughing awkwardly twice, she responded. Actually, they all came to visit me. Immediately afterwards, the turtle immortal said again. Hearing this, Lan Qi's small mouth opened slightly, and said in surprise, Grandpa, it turns out that you teach martial arts, no wonder they are so powerful. That's nature. The turtle immortal nodded proudly and said. But Grandpa, you haven't taught us yet. Goku touched his head, revealed a sincere look, and spoke. Ahem. Quote. Teacher Wushan is unknown to everyone in the martial arts, and everyone knows about the existence. It is called the myth of martial arts. He doesn't take it all. Klin gently rubbed Goku, and then quickly spoke. Hearing Klin's explanation, Lan Qi's face couldn't help but show an admiring expression, and said in surprise, Wow, Grandpa didn't expect you to be so powerful. Haha, it's nothing. The turtle fairy showed a smug smile on his face, waved his hand casually, responded simply, and then came to Klin's side, whispering in his ear. Boy, you have a very promising future. Follow me and study hard in the future. Hearing this, Klin nodded vigorously and quickly responded. Yes, Teacher Wushan. Grandpa, have you finished talking? When can we practice? Goku next to him urged impatiently. Got it, got it. The three of you go to your room first and get dressed. The turtle immortal stared intently at Lan Qi's chest, waved his hand towards the three of them, and said. Yes. Hearing this, the three nodded at the same time and walked towards the turtle immortal house together. After changing their clothes, the three of them followed the instructions of the turtle immortal and came to a huge rock. Ahem. Let's start practicing now. But before that, I need to test your foundation. You run from this rock to the tree opposite, and I'll time you guys. The turtle immortal coughed dryly, and then spoke. Then I'll start first. Saying that, Klin took the lead in standing up, and immediately made a running action posture. Ready, start. As the turtle fairy's voice fell, Klin began to run at great speed, and soon ran to his destination. Very nice. He actually ran a time of 10 seconds and 4 seconds. You really are a talent. Hearing the praise of the turtle immortal, Klin couldn't help but swell, waved his hand casually, and said, This result is just like that, my final score is 10 seconds 1. Next it's Goku. Okay. Then I'll start. After speaking, Goku made a very casual pose, and rushed over with a brush. 8 seconds and 5. It's a bit outrageously strong. The corner of the turtle immortal's mouth twitched. Next, it's up to me. Midnight said softly, and then also took a sports pose. Brush. Before Klin could react, the speed of Midnight arrived at his destination like a gust of wind. Well, so fast. Klin said with a look of surprise. Midnight is so good. Goku jumped up excitedly. 6 seconds and 4 seconds, more powerful than Goku, this is also too perverted. The turtle immortal glanced at Midnight and said in disbelief. Very good, you are all good seedlings, as long as you train well, it is not difficult to run 5 seconds, you must cultivate well in the future. Yes. The three nodded at the same time. Are you guys finished training? I've already made dinner, come and eat. At this time, Lan Qi ran out in a kitchen skirt and shouted loudly. Great, finally able to eat. Goku said excitedly. Wait a minute, you have one last training session before dinner today. Come with me. The turtle immortal took the three of them to a cliff. Night soon fell, the moonlight illuminated, otherwise several people would definitely get lost in the dark environment. Immediately afterwards, the turtle immortal casually picked up a stone from the ground, wrote a turtle character on it, threw it hard, and the stone flew towards the forest in an instant. The final test today is to get the stone back, and the two people who have not found the stone are not allowed to eat dinner. Also, if it's more than 30 minutes, the three of you won't be allowed to eat dinner. Did you hear clearly? Hearing this, the three nodded at the same time. Okay, start now. In the next second, the three quickly rushed into the forest. When night fell, if it weren't for the guidance of the moonlight, several people would have lost their way long ago, let alone look for a stone in this vast dark night. In the forest, Goku, who searched fruitlessly, slowly turned around, but found that there was only Midnight next to him, and couldn't help but be curious about the doorway. Midnight, why don't you see Klin? He can't be lost, right? Midnight shook his head and said with a smile, don't worry, that little bald man is probably playing some kind of cleverness. The challenge given by Teacher Wushan is indeed so difficult. Fortunately there is an afterglow of moonlight, otherwise we will really be lost in the forest. Midnight said lightly. Yes, Midnight. It's the first time I've seen the moon. Hearing Goku's words, Midnight's face suddenly changed, and then he stared at Goku tightly. On the other side, Kamasenya. Why don't you see them coming to dinner at midnight? Lan Chi brought all the food to the table and asked with some doubt. They're still training, it's okay for young people to eat less. The turtle immortal responded casually. Saliva continued to flow from the corners of his mouth, but his eyes were tightly fixed on Lan Chi's back buttocks. Oh, right. There is also a soup in the kitchen. I'll bring it over. Saying that, Lan Chi turned and walked towards the kitchen, and the turtle fairy followed intently, and just as he was admiring his beautiful buttocks, the door of the turtle fairy house was suddenly opened. Teacher Wushan, I found the stone. I saw that Klin ran to the turtle immortal with the stone that took away the turtle character in his hand. Interrupted by Klin, the turtle immortal couldn't help but feel a little annoyed, and then took the other party's stone, carefully examined it, and directly smashed it on Klin's bald head. Stinky boy, you actually dare to lie to me, this is obviously not my handwriting. The turtle immortal cursed loudly and angrily. Thundered. Suddenly, the entire turtle immortal house trembled, small gravel fell from the roof, and the turtle immortal's face froze, and muttered, what happened? Quote. Teacher Wushan, it seems to be the movement coming from Midnight and Wukong. Klin pointed in the direction of the forest not far away and said in a panic. It's not good, let's hurry over and take a look. With that, the two ran out of the room. Thundered. At this time, a huge monster appeared in the forest, and under closer inspection, the monster had brown-black hair all over his body, a 4 or 5 meter long tail dragged behind him, his eyes were red, and he looked like a violent gorilla. Bang! I saw that the gorilla waved his huge fist and smashed towards the ground, and the broken stones rushed into the sky, and a big pit suddenly appeared on the ground. In the deep pit, Midnight was lying in it covered in injuries, and the whole person looked embarrassed. Quote. What a bad luck. How did you forget that Goku will turn into a gorilla? Goku after transformation is really powerful, no wonder he can step on Son Gohan. If I hadn't made a wish to the Dragon Ball, my body could recover quickly, I'm afraid I would have to explain it here today. Midnight's face froze, and he said in a deep voice. Roar. Immediately afterwards, the gorilla roared, and the violent shock wave blew down all the surrounding trees, and then the huge soles of its feet lifted up and stepped on it fiercely towards Midnight. Turtle Pai Qigong. Suddenly, a huge white pillar of light attacked, straight into the gorilla's body, and the powerful force directly knocked it to the ground. Midnight, are you all right? Seeing this, Klin hurriedly stepped forward to help Midnight out of the pit. What's going on? How could such a powerful monster appear here? Also, where did Goku go? The turtle immortal asked with a solemn face. This monster is Goku. Nani? Hearing this, Klin and the turtle immortals were all shocked, and then remembered that Goku said that his grandfather was trampled to death by a terrible monster, and suddenly realized. Midnight, you are familiar with Goku, is there any way to recover him? The turtle immortal asked in a deep voice. Cut off his tail, or destroy the moon. Midnight said categorically. Okay, I'll hold him down. You two find a chance to cut off his tail. The turtle immortal said in a solemn tone, and then directly took off his shirt, and his originally thin body instantly became burly. Come on, monster. The turtle immortal shouted towards the gorilla, and then jumped towards the other party, and the gorilla seemed to be irritated by it, and after roaring, he rushed over. Rumble. The two fists faced each other, and the gorilla's body involuntarily took several steps back, and then the turtle immortal's fist met again, punched the gorilla's face, and knocked it to the ground again. Well, that's awesome. Klin opened his mouth wide, looking at the scene in front of him, shocked and a little speechless. Roar. Immediately afterwards, the gorilla roared again and stood up suddenly, This time he seemed to be completely enraged, and rushed towards the turtle immortal regardless of it. It's now. Midnight, who was hiding on the side, saw the opportunity, jumped his body, came to the air, and then put his hands on his waist, shouting. Turtle, Pai, Chi, Gong. Boom. The white pillar of energy light shot out and directly hit the gorilla's tail in his defenseless state. Roar. In the next second, the gorilla screamed in pain, and its tail was broken in two in an instant, and then the huge body was slowly shrinking, and soon returned to the original appearance of Goku. Finally succeeded. Midnight gasped and fell to the ground exhaustedly. Boy, the turtle Pai Chi function is becoming more and more proficient. It's really rare for you to be able to do this at your age. The turtle immortal praised without hesitation. Immediately walked to Goku's side and slowly picked him up. How's Goku? Midnight asked with some concern. It's no big deal, just fainted. That's good. Midnight nodded faintly, and then fell asleep with the help of Klin. Send them back first. Something to talk about tomorrow. Quote. Yes. The two then walked towards the Kamezen house with Goku and Midnight. The next day, the morning sun fell in the room, and Midnight rubbed his eyes, interrupted his hazy sleep, stretched, and walked out the door. I saw that the turtle immortal, Klin, and Wukong had already started their practice early, probably because of the disappearance of the tail, and Wukong seemed a little unstable with every step he took. You're awake at midnight. I heard that you were injured in a battle with a powerful monster yesterday. Is your health better? After seeing Midnight, Goku quickly ran over and greeted with concern. It's no big deal. Midnight shook his head and said. I really envy you to be able to fight such a powerful monster. I don't know how I fell asleep yesterday. Hearing this, Midnight also understood the intention of the turtle immortal. It seems that he doesn't want Goku to know the original end of the matter, probably because he is worried that Goku can't stand the blow after knowing that he killed his grandfather. In this regard, Midnight also acquiesced, and did not intend to break him. Given your injury last night, you don't have to participate in today's training, but you can't miss it tomorrow. The turtle immortal said with a serious expression. I see. Midnight nodded quickly. In that case, you have a good rest. Goku, Klin, let's go. With that, the turtle immortal left with the two. After a few people left, Midnight came to the forest where last night's battle was, and after careful searching, he finally found the familiar cyan light in a deep pit. Midnight hurriedly ran over. This time the cyan light was a little different from the past, the color was much darker, and the numbers inside had changed, and the number, +50, was written on it, which made Midnight overjoyed. Without any hesitation, Midnight quickly stretched out his hand and touched the cyan light, and the familiar warm current flowed throughout his body again, and his body immediately exuded a steady stream of power, which was enriched everywhere in his body. What an amazing feeling! Feeling the changes brought about by his body, a satisfied smile appeared on Midnight's face, and then his face froze, and he took a fighting posture. Turtle, Pai, Chi, Gong. Boom. The white pillar of energy light shot out, and the entire forest was instantly engulfed in a large area, and the powerful destructive force made Midnight smack. What a terrifying power! Midnight couldn't help but exclaim. Immediately afterwards, Midnight practiced briefly in the forest, completely controlling this power of his own, before returning to the Turtle Immortal house. After returning to the Turtle Immortal house, he had to turn on the TV in the middle of the night, which was also the first time he came to this world to watch TV, and he couldn't help but have some complicated emotions in his heart. As soon as the sun set, the Turtle Immortal returned to the Turtle Immortal house with the tired Goku and Klin, and as soon as the two entered the door, they rushed to the dining table, frantically plundering the food on the table. Goku, how did you train today? Midnight chuckled and asked curiously. We have been delivering milk and plowing the land all day today, and we have not learned any martial arts at all. Klin rolled his eyes and complained. Bang! Hearing this, the Turtle Immortal directly hit Klin's bald head with a stick, and then opened his mouth and reprimanded. If you want to learn martial arts, you can't even suffer this little bit of suffering. I'm sorry, Teacher Wushan, I was wrong. Klin said apologetically. After dinner, Klin and Goku, who had been tired for a day, went straight back to the room and fell asleep, and Midnight wanted to help Lanchi clean up the dishes and chopsticks, but they were ruthlessly rejected by the other party, and they also returned to the room in desperation. Ah! At the moment when she returned to the room at midnight, Lanchi in the kitchen suddenly sneezed, and her hair turned golden in an instant, and then, I don't know where she took out a machine gun, and directly into the room and began to strafe. Messing with things, dare to let the old lady do these things, it's just looking for death. The huge movement couldn't help but wake up Goku and Klin, who had just gone to sleep. In the face of Lanchi's crazy strafing, everyone had to run for their lives, although the strength of several people was not afraid of each other, but everyone did not want to hurt Lanchi because of this, so they had to let this Lanchi be angry. The temper came and went quickly, and as Lanchi's sneeze sounded again, the quiet Lanchi finally returned, and everyone also relaxed their hearts, and each returned to the room to rest. There was no word all night, and in the early morning of the next day, midnight, Wukong and Klin were called up by the Turtle Immortals early and began a new day of cultivation, delivering milk in the morning, plowing the land to farmers in the morning, and working on the construction site in the afternoon, and the whole day's life was arranged very fulfilling. In this way, the three of them have been training boring every day for more than half a month, and everyone is like this every day, and they can't help but complain in their hearts. Grandpa, don't let us do miscellaneous anymore, when will you be willing to hand us over the boxing technique? Sun Wukong said with some complaints. Hearing this, the Turtle Immortal was furious, and the room yelled at the three people, saying, "Children are ignorant, do not lay a good foundation, and learn boxing in vain." Then, pointing to a tall rock next to him, he said, "See. If you want me to teach you boxing, move this rock in front of you." Hearing this, Klin's brows wrinkled slightly, and he said incredulously, "How is this possible with such a big rock? This is simply not something that people can do." "Who said that?" Saying that, the Turtle Immortal put down the crutch in his hand, touched the rock with both hands, and then pushed hard, and the rock was instantly pushed several meters away. "See. Only by cultivating according to my method can I achieve this point." Hearing the lesson of the Turtle Immortal, Klin closed his mouth in surprise, and could only nod his head in agreement. Goku, on the other hand, quickly ran to the side of the rock, and then concentrated the strength of his whole body on his hands, and pushed hard, and the rock moved in an instant. "Grandpa, you see I succeeded," Goku said excitedly. This. I'm not talking about this rock, but about that, and when I'm older, I got the size of the rock wrong, haha. The Turtle Immortal touched his head, laughed a little embarrassed, and then quickly pointed to a larger rock next to him and said, "Such a big stone." Seeing such a large rock in front of him, Klin couldn't help but be frightened, while Goku was still a little unconvinced, quickly ran forward and tried again. However, this time, even if Goku tried harder, the rock could not shake the slightest. "I'll try." Just as the Turtle Immortal was about to speak proudly, Midnight suddenly stood up and walked in front of the rock. "Haha, no need to try. You guys don't train enough, it's impossible." "Not necessarily." Midnight sneered, then put his hands on the top of the rock, and then pushed it with all the strength of his body. Thundered. In the next second, the huge rock was actually pushed a few meters. How is this possible? The Turtle Immortal's mouth couldn't close in surprise. "Midnight, it's amazing." Seeing this scene, the Turtle Immortal was shocked and speechless. "When did you become so strong?" the Turtle Immortal asked in surprise. Hearing this, Midnight chuckled and explained lightly, "It may be that this half-month of devil training has improved my strength." Quote. Haha. Hearing this, the Turtle Immortal naturally did not believe it, smiled awkwardly and turned to Goku and Klin and reprimanded, "See. It's because you guys are usually lazy and don't train, and you can't even push such a small stone." Hearing this, Klin and Goku couldn't help but bow their heads in shame, and the Turtle Immortals were finally relieved to see that this method worked. "Do you really want to learn boxing?" the Turtle Immortal asked in a condensed voice. "Uh-huh." The two nodded in agreement. "Okay, as long as you can meet my requirements in the next training, I will teach you. Moreover, I will take you to the world's first martial arts conference every 5 years, the Turtle Immortal said with a heavy face. "The world's first martial arts conference. What is that?" Goku asked curiously. "That is the place where all martial artists yearn for, when all the masters in the world will participate. I hope you can achieve good results in it." Hearing this, Goku and Klin jumped up excitedly. Okay, the next training is the devil weight training. Saying that, the turtle immortal took out 3 purple turtle shells of different sizes from behind him and continued. The weight of these 2 turtle shells is 20 kilograms, and the weight of this turtle shell is 40 kilograms. From now on, you must eat, sleep, and train with you. Understood. Understood. The 3 quickly nodded and responded. Then the 3 people stepped forward and brought the turtle shell to the body. Midnight naturally chose the heaviest one, and in the following days, several people began their usual training life again. 5 months later, Grandpa Goku rushed into the Turtle Fairy house with a 20-kilogram turtle shell on his back. What's going on, Goku? Before the turtle immortal could finish asking, Goku pulled the other party up and ran outside. Goku, slow down, what happened? Soon, the turtle immortal was taken by Goku to the huge rock, and at this time, Klin and Midnight were all here. Grandpa, we can already push this rock. Goku said excitedly. How is it possible? The turtle immortal shook his head with a smile, but the next scene completely shocked him, and he saw that Goku used his whole body strength, and the rock was really moved several meters. It's up to me. I may not have pushed as far as Goku. With that, Klin also stepped forward and used all his strength, and in the next second, the rock moved several meters again. I don't have to demonstrate, do I? Midnight asked with a smile. Grandpa, can you teach us boxing now? Goku asked sincerely. Hearing this, the turtle immortal couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed, and after thinking about it, he answered truthfully. This quote. Actually, I don't have any boxing techniques at all. The essence of the turtle immortal stream martial arts has been integrated into your daily training. Maybe you haven't noticed it yourself, you have been exercised all over your body, and your strength and speed have made a qualitative leap. I have nothing left to teach you. The turtle immortal shook his head and said in a flat tone. Grandpa, but how can we defeat others without boxing? Goku asked suspiciously. The most important thing in learning martial arts is not to defeat others, but to surpass yourself. The turtle immortal said meaningfully. The world's first martial arts conference is still a month away, and then you can train as before, but the weight of the turtle fairy shell will be doubled. Yes. Immediately afterwards, after the 3 of them changed into brand new equipment, they began to train the devil day after day. Time passed quickly, and the day and night before the start of the world's first martial arts conference quietly arrived. Tomorrow is the start of the competition, you can remove the turtle shell from your body. The turtle immortal said to several people. Great. I've always been worried about being laughed at by other players with this thing. Hearing this, the 3 of them happily unloaded the weight on their bodies, and suddenly a feeling of relaxation surged up. Wow, the body has become so light. Goku said excitedly. You guys jump hard, try. Hearing this, the 3 quickly began to jump, and in the next second, they came directly to a height of tens of meters. Haha, okay, let's go. The turtle immortal chuckled and said. Lanchi, please look after the house. Hearing this, Lan Chi made an okay gesture and said with a smile. No problem. By the way, Midnight, this is my new clothes for you, you must compete well. Thank you. After taking the clothes in Lan Chi's hand, the 3 of them headed in the direction of the martial arts conference under the leadership of the Turtle Immortals. After a few people left Turtle Immortal Island, they boarded the plane to reach the world's first martial arts conference, and after flying for nearly half a day, they finally arrived at their destination. Wow, there are so many people here. Yes, it's really lively. I miss the feeling. Midnight said with a flat face. You guys wait here first, I'll sign you up. With that, the Turtle Immortal walked towards the registration office at the gate of the world's first martial arts conference. Hi, Goku, Midnight, long time no see. Suddenly, a handsome-looking man with short hair walked over and greeted the 2 deadly. Who are you? Goku asked with a puzzled look. You are Yamuchi. Midnight said with a look of surprise. Yes. Hearing this, Yamcha nodded with a smile. How did you become like this? I almost didn't recognize it when you changed your hairstyle. Goku said in surprise. Haha. Bulma said that long hair in the city is too dirty, so I cut it. Yamcha touched his head and said with a smile. This is Klin who practiced with us at Wushan teacher. This is our friend, Yamcha. Midnight said to the 2. It turned out to be a senior apprentice of teacher Wushan. Lucky will be lucky. I heard Midnight and Goku mention you. I heard that you are very powerful. Then the two greeted politely. Midnight, Goku. At this time, Bulma took the ice cream and walked over with Goku Puyuru with a smile on his face. Everyone, long time no see. Midnight greeted with a smile. Well, long time no see. After seeing Midnight, Bulma's cheeks turned red all of a sudden. Huh. Bulma, why are you blushing? Is it sick? Goku asked with a puzzled look. He's missing men. Oolong licked a mouthful of ice cream and said flatly. Bang. Bulma's face turned red, and she punched Oolong's head, and in the next second, a large bag grew on Oolong's head. Midnight, Goku. Tomorrow in the ring, we may become enemies, you must not show mercy. Yamcha said with a serious face. Don't worry, Goku never knew what mercy meant by his subordinates. Hearing Midnight's words, everyone burst into laughter. As night fell, after the joy of reunion, several people returned to their hotel rooms to rest. The next day, the world's #1 martial arts conference finally kicked off. Several people changed their clothes and came to the battlefield early. Seeing the scene of the crowd of people in front of them, several people couldn't help but close their mouths in surprise. Okay, let's go to the qualifier venue first. Subsequently, several people led by the staff to a place called the arena. The next qualifiers can only be participated by the registration personnel. I can only accompany you here. By the way, this is the martial arts uniform I prepared for you. Saying that, the Turtle Immortal took out 3 red martial arts suits with different shapes from the suitcase and handed them to the 3. Boom. As the staff sounded the gong, all the people who registered for the competition walked towards the inside of the martial arts hall. Today is the world's first martial arts conference once every 5 years. Welcome all heroes to come here. We will select 8 masters in the qualifiers to participate in the final. Now it's up to me to explain the rules of the game. The qualifiers are divided into 4 areas. One-on-one fights. Fainting or falling off the field is considered to lose the game, but there is a rule that no killings are allowed, and no weapons are allowed. Okay, now please draw lots. As the referee's voice fell, everyone lined up to start the draw. I'm number 93, Goku, what about you? Klin looked at the label in his hand and asked. My number is number 70. Goku responded with a smile. So, both of you are in the 3rd district. Midnight looked at the order of arrangement, and then spoke. What? Hearing this, Klin couldn't help but be surprised, and hurriedly looked at the division of the area, and couldn't help but hang his head and said, I didn't expect to be so coincidental with Goku, and the opponent I didn't want to meet was you too. Midnight, what about you? Goku asked curiously. I'm in the 1st district, Yamcha is in the 2nd district. Midnight looked at the label and then spoke. Everyone looks so good, can we really win? Looking at the strong crowd around him, Klin's face couldn't help but become frightened, and he said with some unconfidence. Klin, you have to be a little confident, most of the people here are strong outsiders. Midnight patted him on the shoulder and said comfortingly. I hope so. Klin nodded and responded. It's time for the 1st district match, invite the 3rd and 10th players to the ring. At this time, the referee's voice suddenly remembered. Midnight glanced at the label in his hand, and then said with a smile, oh. It's coming to me so soon. Come on, Midnight. Goku said encouragingly. Haha, it's actually a little ghost, the player number 10 is really lucky. It's just, how come my luck is not so good? The other fighters in the audience taunted after seeing Midnight in the ring. At the same time, a burly muscular man walked up with heavy steps, and when he saw Midnight's thin body, he couldn't help but say sarcastically, haha, boy, you are my opponent. Seeing how good you look, Uncle doesn't want to hit you, hurry home and drink milk. You have to have this ability. Midnight sneered and said. The kid is still quite crazy, see how I clean you up. After saying that, the big man clenched his fists and rushed towards Midnight. Seeing this, Midnight jumped and kicked the abdomen of the big man. Bang! The big man who ate the pain shouted, and then flew out of the ring, and the whole person passed out directly. The 3rd player wins. As the referee's voice sounded, everyone in the audience eased from their surprised expressions. What just happened? Is this little devil really powerful? Everyone in the audience said with a surprised look. Great, Midnight, I didn't expect the first game to win so easily. Clint ran forward and said excitedly. Hee hee, don't worry, you can too. Midnight chuckled, nodded and said. Huh, isn't this Clint? I haven't seen it since I left the Shaolin Temple in tears last time. At this moment, two fat and thin monks dressed in monk robes came over and mocked Clint. Division. Senior brother. After seeing the person coming, Clint showed a terrified expression on his face and stammered. You're not here to attend the martial arts conference, are you? Hearing this, Clint nodded honestly. Let me see how many numbers you are. Haha, number 93, it's really coincidental, your opponent is me. The thin monk said mockingly. Syllable. Haha, don't cry then. Then, the two of them knocked on Clint's bald head fiercely, and left with a look of disdain on their faces. After the two left, Clint still had his head down, and his face was full of fear. Clint, what's wrong with you? Goku couldn't help but ask worriedly. I'd better throw in the towel. Clint glanced at Goku, then looked down and said. Clint, don't worry. Now you are not the same as before, isn't the purpose of your coming to Wushan to practice here to become stronger? It's a good time to prove your strength today. Midnight patted Clint's shoulder and comforted. May I? Clint said unconfidently. Clint, have to believe in yourself, your game is about to start, hurry up. Well, all right. Hearing Midnight and Goku's encouragement, Clint's mood was slightly better, and then he nodded and walked towards the ring. Come on Clint, that guy isn't powerful at all. You can knock him down with one punch. Goku shouted. In the ring, the thin monk looked at Clint with disdain and mocked. You didn't escape. Is it quite bold now? Look at the move. With that, he waved his fist and attacked Clint. Clint, be careful. Hearing Goku's voice, Clint suddenly woke up, and his body jumped into the air. Bang! Immediately afterwards, the body descended rapidly, and he directly punched the thin monk's face. Ah! In the next second, the thin monk shouted and flew straight out. Player 93 wins. As the referee's voice fell, Clint looked at his hands blankly and muttered in disbelief. I won. Quote. Clint, good. Goku praised with a smile. They don't seem to be very strong either, huh? Clint said with a dull look. That's because we're too strong. Midnight came over and said lightly. Immediately afterwards, the game came to a white-hot state, and Midnight, Goku, Clint, and Yamcha became the most shining highlights, almost becoming an invincible existence. Now there is a final for two people from the 1st District, the 3rd and 15th fighters, please come to the ring and prepare. Me again. As the referee's voice fell, Midnight quickly ran to the ring, his gaze shifted to the opponent in front of him, and he saw that the other party was not a human, but actually a humanoid blue-purple demon wolf. Little ghost, meet me and your race journey is over. That's a lot of nonsense. Rumble. In the next second, the demon wolf began to move rapidly, leaving several afterimages around Midnight, which made people a little puzzled. Little ghost, it's impossible for you to see my speed, admit defeat. Yes. Midnight sneered, and then his body instantly disappeared in place. How did Midnight disappear? It's not that it's disappearing, it's moving at high speed, making it impossible to see his speed. Goku said with a flat face. Goku, can you see clearly? Clint asked suspiciously. You can see some, to be honest, his speed is really ridiculously fast. Goku said with a smile. However, the demon wolf at this time was also frightened by the speed of Midnight, and the next moment he was stunned in place. Bang! Then, Midnight saw the opportunity and kicked it out of the ring. The third player wins. As the referee's voice fell, Midnight also completely won the qualifier final, becoming one of the 8 strong players in the martial arts conference. Immediately afterwards, Wukong, Clint, and Yamcha also obtained the qualifications for the promotion of various divisions, and since then, the 8 strongest people of the martial arts conference have successfully made it out of the circle. Ahem. Immediately afterwards, a man in a black suit and sunglasses walked in with a microphone, and after a gentle cough, the originally chaotic environment instantly quieted down. The man glanced around, then picked up the list in his hand, and said loudly, now invite all the promoted players to gather here. Hearing this, the 8 advanced players gathered around one after another, and suddenly a strange stench came, and everyone present couldn't help covering their noses. Ah, it stinks. What is this thing? Everyone turned their heads one after another, and saw a burly man standing behind them who was scruffy and poorly dressed, emitting a disgusting stench on his body. Who is he? Why is the body so smelly? Yamauchi covered his nose and said with an ugly face. I heard that this person has not bathed since he was born, and he has competed with him through the bar against the stinky stun. An old man dressed in black next to him explained lightly. What a despicable means. Goku couldn't help but say with disdain. Trouble this gentleman to go farther. The referee couldn't stand the stench comparable to a gas bomb, and spoke up. As the wild man left, the surrounding stench only receded a little, and everyone couldn't help but gasp. Then start drawing lots now to decide the order of the opponents of the martial arts competition, and those who are called by name please come and gather. The black-clad referee picked up the microphone in his hand and said loudly. Okay, now start calling names. Then, under the command of the referee, everyone stepped forward to get their labels, and then the staff wrote the list of opponents on the next board, which were Mr. Nanwu vs. Jackie Chan. Player, Monster Keen Player vs. Sun Wukong. Player, Wild Man Player vs. Klin. Player, and Yamauchi Player vs. Midnight Player. Midnight, I didn't expect that my opponent was actually you. This time I will do my best to fight with you, let you see my progress during this time. After Yamauchi list, he showed an expectant look on his face and said to Midnight. Okay, I'll wait for you. Midnight nodded and responded faintly. Now that the draw is complete, everyone can wait patiently for the start of the game here. With that, the referee walked towards the door, and then came to the open-air martial arts conference main ring. Sorry everyone, I've waited a long time. Now I announce that the 21st Tianxia First Martial Arts Conference is the beginning. As the referee's voice fell, the audience instantly boiled, cheering for the opening of the martial arts conference. Now announce the first match roster. Klin vs. Wild Man Player. 2 contestants are ready to play. As the referee's voice fell, the two also walked out of the martial arts hall and came to the ring of the martial arts conference, and when Midnight and the others saw this, they also followed out one after another to watch this match. Look, it's Klin. Klin, come on. Such a small person can reach the final. The martial arts conference is really more and more impossible. It stinks. What does it smell? It's killing me. With the appearance of the wild man, everyone in the audience was almost fainted by the smell of his body, unconsciously covered his mouth and nose, and cursed. Haha, I didn't expect my opponent to be a child, see how I broke you in half. The wild man looked at the short Klin in front of him, his face couldn't help but show a look of disdain, and laughed out loud. Immediately afterwards, he attacked Klin with heavy steps, and Klin quickly jumped up to avoid the opponent's attack when he saw this. I actually dodged it so easily. The wild man said with a surprised look. Let you see my invincible big breath. Ha! Immediately, the wild man aimed directly at Klin, and took a big breath hard. The violent stench made everyone's faces change wildly, and they vomited, and Klin was even fainted directly by the smell. I didn't expect the wild man player to use such a disgusting method. Now that the Klin player has fallen, can he still stand up? Let's wait and see. Seeing this, the referee quickly picked up the microphone and said loudly. Come on Klin, get up and knock down this disgusting guy. Little one, stand up, knock him down. Come on, come on, come on. Quote. For a while, the audience was boiling, and everyone was feeding Klin cheers. Klin, what are you doing? Have you forgotten that you don't have a nose at all? Hearing Midnight's words, Klin's eyes lit up, and he quickly stood up and said, Yes, I don't have a nose. Thank you, Midnight, thanks for your reminder. Klin said gratefully. Subsequently, Klin readjusted his state and quickly attacked the wild man, and the stench of the other party had no effect on Klin at this time. Bang! A wild man without the blessing of stench is like a toothless tiger, not Klin's opponent at all, and he is knocked to the ground with just one punch. Win, great. Good boy. I knew you could do it. Seeing this scene, the audience applauded one after another, and praised Klin one after another. After all, the impression that wild men brought to everyone was too bad. Congratulations to Klin for advancing to the Final Four. Immediately afterwards, the referee came to the center of the ring again, picked up the microphone in his hand, and announced Klin's victory. Now for the second match, but before that, we will ask our staff to disinfect the ring, please be patient for a while. And the backstage staff wore gas masks and spilled hollow fresheners and disinfectants in every corner of the ring. Now start the second game. Midnight player versus Yamauchi player. Please two of you. As the referee picked up the microphone and walked to the ring again, announcing the start of the second match, the two slowly walked out, and then the whole ring boiled again. Come on Midnight. You must win. Yamauchi, you have to come on too. Bulma shouted loudly as she raised her throat in the audience. Who the hell are you going to help cheer for? Oolong rolled his eyes and said. This. Of course I hope they all win. Bulma said hesitantly. Oh, woman. Come on at Midnight, you must win. Oolong gave Bulma a blank look, and then shouted for Midnight. Young Master Yamauchi, come on. Puyalu said not to be outdone. What are they doing? Why don't you start yet? Hey, can you fight in the end? Can you hurry up? Don't grind. On the ring, Midnight and Yamauchi looked at each other with flat faces, without the slightest intention of making a move, and the audience in the audience couldn't wait, all shouted loudly. Come on, Yamauchi. Let me see how much your strength has improved during this time. Midnight chuckled, with a light and breezy look on his face, and he couldn't see the slightest sense of urgency in the game. Do you look down on me so much? Yamauchi couldn't help but smile bitterly, and then took a fighting stance, carefully observing the movements of the Midnight starter. Ha! In the next second, Yamauchi drank loudly, jumped his body, came directly to midair, and then with the help of the center of gravity of his body's descent, he concentrated all his strength on his right leg, and then kicked fiercely towards Midnight. In the face of Yamauchi's fierce attack, Midnight didn't seem to care, only to see him slowly raise his arm and block his face. Bang! Yamauchi kicked down, his face suddenly changed, he felt as if he had kicked on a hard iron plate, and the heel immediately became red and swollen, and then the whole person covered his foot and fell to the ground. It hurts. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Worthy of being a disciple of the god of martial arts. Yamauchi said with a worried face, and then stood up again, his face couldn't help but become solemn. However, I will not admit defeat. Come again. In the next second, Yamauchi attacked towards Midnight at a thunderous speed, but was easily dodged by Midnight, and in the eyes of Midnight, Yamauchi's movements can be said to be full of flaws. After the wolf-tooth wind fist felt the gap between himself and Midnight, Yamauchi no longer hidden, and directly made his own trick. In the next second, Yamauchi's fist instantly turned into dozens of wolf shadows and violently attacked towards the Midnight. The speed is enough, but there are still too many flaws. It's time for the match to end. Midnight said with a flat face, and then his body instantly disappeared in place, and then came behind him, punched him. Yamauchi screamed in pain, and flew directly out of the ring. The Yamauchi contestant fell off the field, and the Midnight contestant won the match. As the referee's voice sounded again, everyone in the audience couldn't help but be stunned, just because the speed of the two was too fast, and they didn't know what was happening in the ring. It's okay. Midnight walked quickly to Yamauchi's side, reached out to help him up, and asked lightly. Congratulations, Midnight. I really didn't think that the gap between us was so big, I was convinced to lose to you. Yamauchi smiled bitterly, then shook his head helplessly, and then stood up, and walked towards the backstage with Midnight. You are so good at Midnight, you actually knocked down Yamauchi all of a sudden. After seeing the two, Goku ran up excitedly and said, Yamauchi's face couldn't help but reveal an unconcealable embarrassment. I really don't want to run into you two. Clint said helplessly. Dear audience, next is the third game, Jackie Chan vs. Nan Wu. As the referee's voice sounded, several people did not greet each other, and ran over to watch the next match. I saw that Jackie Chan and Nan Wu walked to the ring side by side. Huh. It's that old grandfather. After seeing Jackie Chan, Goku suddenly said. Goku, do you know him? Clint asked suspiciously. I've seen his previous matches, and he only needs one move to beat his opponent, which is very powerful. Goku nodded and explained lightly. Hello, Mr. Nan Wu. Jackie Chan chuckled, and then stretched out his hand to greet the other party. However, what he didn't expect was that the other party ignored him and turned straight away. Is it so cold? Left without even saying hello. Jackie Chan said with a puzzled look. The face is so serious, let me see what you are thinking. Immediately, Jackie Chan's brows frowned slightly, and the spiritual power then affected Nan Wu's brain, and then the picture in his mind appeared in Jackie Chan's eyes. So it is, no wonder it's so serious. It's a pity that I still have my mission, I can't lose this game. Jackie Chan sighed and muttered softly. Now, the third game showdown officially begins, bang! Exclamation mark. As the referee's voice fell, the gong sounded, and then the two prepared for battle at the same time. I'm sorry old man, for the sake of the people of the village, I must win this game. Nan Wu clasped his hands together, then took a fighting posture and said with a heavy face. Let the horses come. Jackie Chan responded without caring about Daha. Exclamation mark. In the next second, Nan Wubang shouted, stepped hard towards the ground, and his body rushed over in an instant. Opposite Nan Wu's attack, Jackie Chan shook his head, then jumped lightly, and dodged the opponent's attack, and then his toes were a little on the opponent's head, and Nan Wu, who lost his center of gravity, directly lay on the ground. Admit defeat, you can't win me. Jackie Chan said nonchalantly, then slowly turned around and was turned at the other party. I can't lose, I must win for the sake of the village. I'm sorry, old man. Nan Wu slowly got up, his face revealed a trace of determination, and then jumped hard, and his body came to 100 meters in the air. Sky cross fist. Nan Wubang shouted, and then his body quickly landed, his hands crossed in a crossed appearance, and rushed towards the back of Chunggong. Rumble. With the moment Nan Wu landed, the successful figure actually became illusory. Nan Wu's attack directly passed through the body, smashed heavily on the ground, and the ring was smashed out of a deep pit in an instant. What? How so? Nan Wu touched his red and swollen arm and said with a surprised expression. Bang! In the next second, Jackie Chan's figure appeared again and kicked Nan Wu's waist fiercely. Brush. Nan Wu snorted in pain, his body flew out directly upside down. Jackie Chan walked slowly to the edge of the ring, looked at Nan Wu who had fallen off the ring, and said in a flat tone, remember, this move is called afterimage fist. It's really wonderful. Nan Wu player fell off the field, and Jackie Chan won the game. The referee couldn't help but be shocked by the game in front of him, and after a long pause, he picked up the microphone in his hand and said loudly. This grandfather is also too powerful, and it is really not a simple role that can go to the end. Clin looked surprised and froze in place. Yes, I just don't know why, I always feel that the breath on his body is so familiar. Goku's eyes froze and he spoke. Nan Wujian lost the match, you can see that his face has become very ugly, but thank him for bringing us such a wonderful match, everyone gives him applause. Immediately afterwards, the referee's voice sounded again, maybe this game really shocked him, so he did his best to start enlivening the atmosphere. Nan Wu did not care about the endless praise and applause around him, but returned to the ring again, bowed deeply to Jackie Chan, and said in a respectful tone, old man, you are really strong. I lost my heart and took it orally. Saying that, Nan Wu straightened up, turned around and was about to leave. Seeing the other party's lost soul, Jackie Chan couldn't help but call the other party. Are you going back like this? I'm not in the mood to keep watching. Nan Wu turned his head, sighed softly, and said. Actually, even without me, with your strength, you can't even make it to the final, so you don't need to care. Jackie Chan shook his head and spoke again. Old man, I know what you mean, I have nothing to say if I lose to you. Nan Wu nodded and responded. Mr. Nan Wu, aren't you trying to save your village? In fact, there is another way, it is not necessary to win the game. Seeing that the other party would be wrong about his own meaning, Jackie Chan explained again. Hearing this, Nan Wu's face revealed a surprised expression, and he asked incredulously. You? How do you know? Jackie Chan smiled gently, then took out a capsule from his pocket and threw it to the other party. This is for you. After Nan Wu looked at it carefully, he found that this thing was not unfamiliar, so he couldn't help but ask suspiciously, isn't this a universal capsule? Why are you giving me this? Don't get me wrong, it's empty. But this capsule can hold a lot of water. Mr. Nan Wu, you come with me. Saying that, Jackie Chan turned around and quickly left the ring, completely ignoring the referee's confused look. Seeing this, Nan Wu quickly followed over, and after walking for nearly 5 minutes or so, Jackie Chan stopped at a wellhead. Old man, who the hell are you? Why is it clear about me? Nanwu asked with a puzzled look. Haha, everyone else calls me Teacher Wushan. Jackie Chan touched his beard, smiled softly, and said. Are you Wushan teacher? Hearing this, Nanwu closed his mouth in shock. Shish. Whisper, I hid my identity to participate in the competition because I didn't want so many people to know. Nanwu couldn't help but ask suspiciously. But why? Why are you? Jackie Chan sighed lightly, and then spoke again. Alas, have you seen those 3 children in the top 8? They are actually all my disciples. Oh. No wonder, several of them look young, but their strength is more amazing than the other, it turns out to be your disciple. Nanwu nodded and said. That's right. The 3 of them are gifted better than one person, which should be a good thing, but I am afraid that if they win the championship of the world's first martial arts conference, there will be a swelling mentality, thus ruining their martial arts path. You can also see that more and more people in today's world have given up martial arts, and even most of them can't even dodge bullets. If this continues, I am afraid that martial arts will come to an end. So I hide my identity to participate in the competition, just to let them know that there are people outside the people, there is a truth outside the sky. I don't want them to be complacent because of some achievements, only in this way can they have farther in the future. Jackie Chan stood on his back, quite a master style, and his appearance at this time was completely different from the lecherous turtle immortals of the past. So it is. Teacher Wu Tian is really well-intentioned. Nanwu nodded and said. Hearing this, Jackie Chan couldn't help but wave his hand, and then spoke up again. I have seen the drought scene in your hometown in your mind, so this capsule is for you to fill water. I think it should be able to solve the problem after you go back. Teacher Wushan, in fact, even if you give me a universal capsule, it is useless, I have no money to buy water at all. Nanwu smiled bitterly and shook his head and said. Hearing this, Jackie Chan couldn't help but be stunned, pointed to the well next to him, and said in surprise, don't you know that the water here is free? Quote. Nani? How so? Nanwu opened his mouth wide, he couldn't believe this scene in front of him, he played so hard to buy water, and now someone actually told him that the water was actually free, and he didn't need money at all. Haha, you just fetch water here, I'll go first. Looking at the other party's surprised appearance, Jackie Chan couldn't help but feel a little funny, and then turned around and walked in the direction he came. Thank you, Teacher Wushan, I will definitely repay you. Nanwu clasped his hands together, bowed deeply, and said gratefully. It's okay if you don't repay, just remember to help me hide my identity. Wu Tian waved his hand, and after saying something, he left here. Everyone, we are saved. Nanwu looked at the capsule in his hand and said with a look of excitement. Time flies, the world's first martial arts conference 8 finalists have completed 3 games, Midnight, Klin, Jackie Chan successfully advanced to the final 4, and at this time it was Goku's turn to appear, and the 4th game also began. Okay. Now start the 4th match. Please 2 players to appear. As the referee's voice fell, Goku ran out of the backstage excitedly, and immediately greeted the audience. What a cute little friend. He can reach the final at this age. Huh. This little ghost's clothes are exactly the same as that Midnight and Klin. It really is. It's great, finally waiting for Goku to appear. Come on Goku. Be sure to win. Bulma shouted excitedly. Immediately afterwards, the monster walked to the ring with heavy steps, its powerful body made people feel tight, and then look at Goku on the side, he looked very petite. The monster stared at Goku in front of him, the corners of his mouth revealed disdain, clenched his fists and said coldly, little ghost, watch me beat you half to death, Goku. Ignored the other party, but now moved his hands and feet in place. Hey, little ghost, show you something. The monster clenched his fist and whispered to Goku. Hearing this, he couldn't help but arouse Goku's curiosity, and looked over with a puzzled face. What? Just come and take a look. Then, Goku naively walked in front of the monster, and just as he was curiously looking at the things in the monster's hand, who would have thought that the other party suddenly punched him? Die. Bang. Goku was shot out in an instant and hit the wall behind him. This guy is still so naive. Midnight patted his forehead and said helplessly. It's so despicable. It's too much, actually sneak attack. Goku quickly stand up and knock this down. Seeing this scene, Bulma immediately became furious and shouted at the stage. You actually sneaked up on me. How despicable. Goku stroked his slightly red and swollen face, stood up and said. Haha, who made you an idiot? The monster said coldly. Abominable. I'm angry, look at the move. Saying that, Goku jumped forward, his body began to move rapidly, and before the other party could see the action, he had already punched him in the face, and the monster crashed to the ground. Immediately afterwards, Goku picked up the monster's tail with both hands, spun it around a few times, and threw it directly towards the outside of the ring. Great win. Just when Klin was excited, the monster's body suddenly stopped in midair outside the arena, and I saw its wings waving behind it, and then came to the ring again. Haha, there's no way I'll fall out of the field. The monster said with a proud look. In that case, then I can only beat you on your knees and beg for mercy. Goku sneered, and then took up a fighting stance. Hehe, you have to have this ability too. The monster chewed its mouth, and the next second it directly spewed out a strange purple coil towards Goku, firmly entangled it. This. What is it? After trying to break free for a moment without success, Goku couldn't help but ask suspiciously. Haha, you've been tied up by my rubber ring. Don't work in vain, you can't break free. Saying that, the monster rushed directly towards Goku. Seeing this, Goku quickly jumped, but did not want to be caught by the other party. You lose. Brush. The monster sneered, and then used all his strength to throw Goku hundreds of meters away. Goku. Wouldn't it be, it was actually defeated so easily. Seeing this scene, the Turtle Fairy's face was full of surprise. He thought that it would be Midnight or himself who defeated Goku. Goku. Klin also shouted anxiously. In midair, Goku's body began to fall slowly, his face couldn't help but get anxious, and he subconsciously shouted, Dudoyun, in. The next second, a golden light turned into a golden light in the sky, and the somersault cloud rushed to carry Goku on it, and then slowly sent Wukong back to the ring. Saved. Thank you, Duyun. Goku gasped lightly and said. As simple as this, the monster's face completely darkened, and he shouted directly at the commentator, Hey, you don't care about this referee. Doesn't it mean that you are not allowed to use props? Didn't you yourself fly back from the sky? And this ghost circle? Goku said with a look of disbelief. I flew back on my own body, and that rubber ring was also spit out of my mouth. The monster scolded angrily. The narrator wiped the cold sweat on his face, and then said, Excuse me, everyone. We need to discuss this. A moment later, the narrator's voice sounded again. After the unanimous decision of the judges, the Monkey King player is not a foul this time, but it is not an example. HMPH, then I'll throw you out again. You're. Hearing this, the monster had to endure it, snorted coldly, and said. Oops. Goku's face changed, and he quickly broke free of the rubber ring, but the monster did not intend to give him a chance, and directly roared and rushed forward. Go and die. Bang. Immediately afterwards, the monster punched out, only to feel that his fist did not feel the feeling of strength, and Ding Qing saw that Goku had already disappeared. The monster looked around with a puzzled look, but saw that Goku at this time actually hooked the monster's arm with his tail. This is the tail, you're not human. The monster asked with a look of surprise. Tail. My tail is growing again. Goku said with a look of excitement. Then he quickly jumped into the ring, and at the same time, using the strength of his whole body, he instantly broke the rubber ring. Fantastic. When there is still a tail, the power is the strongest. Goku jumped up in the ring excitedly, completely ignoring the shocked appearance of the people around him. Okay, now I'm going to start fighting back. Saying that, Goku's expression froze, and the strength of his whole body was concentrated. This time he did not dare to be careless, and he was all out as soon as he struck. Rumble. Immediately afterwards, the monster was not to be outdone, clenched its fists and won, and the two punches faced each other. The monster only felt a powerful force attack, and the sharp pain extended through the skin all over the body, and in the next second, it flew out directly. Well. So powerful, is this stinky boy already powerful to this point? Plus this little guy at midnight, it's really a headache. Maybe I really could lose at their hands. Seeing this scene, the Turtle Immortal couldn't help but show a surprised look. In the fourth game, the Monkey King player wins. Today's competition is here. Welcome everyone to watch the final of the world's first martial arts conference tomorrow. Whose hands will the 500,000 prize fall into? Dear audience, after several days of competition, we finally came to the final of our world's first martial arts conference, and today is the first competition between Clin and Sun Wukong. As the referee's voice fell, Goku and Clin ran out of the background excitedly and stood beside the referee. But before that, I want to have some brief interviews with the two of you. Congratulations to the two players for defeating their strong opponents and advancing to the semi-finals at a young age. What a remarkable. The referee said with a smile, and then handed the microphone in his hand to Goku, but before the referee could speak, Goku took a bite. It's so unpalatable. Goku stuck out his tongue and said, Goku, this is not for food. How he asks you, how do you answer? Clin leaned into Goku's ear and whispered a reminder. So it is. I thought it was ice cream. Then you ask. Goku said with a smile. May I ask, player son, is your tail real? I haven't heard of people having tails. The referee wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and asked with an embarrassed smile. I'm also wondering, how did it grow so quickly? Clin muttered with an ugly face. Of course it's true, I don't believe you see. Saying that, Goku directly took off his pants, and his whole body was exposed in front of everyone, causing everyone to laugh. Goku quickly put it on, it's too humiliating. Clin's face turned red, and he quickly stepped forward to help Goku lift his pants and said embarrassedly. I've tried so hard, but Goku's shameless personality hasn't changed. Midnight touched his head and said helplessly. Haha, the Monkey King player is really humorous. By the way, seeing that you two and the Midnight players are wearing the same martial arts uniforms, are you learning martial arts in the same dojo? The referee laughed awkwardly twice, and then asked again. We don't have any dojos. It was teacher Wushan who taught us to practice. Kling's sincere turtle replied. Hearing this, the audience couldn't help but boil, and the referee asked with a surprised face. You. What did you say? Teacher. Wu Tian, no wonder these three little guys are so powerful. It turns out to be the disciple of teacher Wu Tian, the god of martial arts. I can't imagine that the 1,000-year-old demon is still alive. Hearing this, Jackie Chan, who was originally a little relieved, directly planted a heel, and when he saw this, he quickly stepped forward and helped him up. Teacher, are you all right? Be careful. It's okay, it's okay. Jackie Chan waved his hand with a smile, and after realizing what he said, he quickly retorted, I'm not your teacher, you misunderstood. I didn't say that you are, the elder is just an honorific title, why are you so nervous? Midnight chuckled, then turned away and set his gaze on Goku again. This stinky boy is really cunning. Jackie Chan muttered softly. Teacher Wushan's two masters will definitely bring us a wonderful match, so the competition starts now. Boom. With the sound of the gong, Goku and Clin quickly came to the center of the ring and took a fighting stance. Goku, be careful. Come on. Saying that, Clin jumped up, and his body quickly attacked Goku. His fist was like a shadow, which made people dazzled, but Goku dissolved it one by one. Click-da. Immediately after, the two of them started a fierce fight, and the two punched extremely fast, making everyone only feel that the ring was full of phantoms of the two. Well, that's awesome. Worthy of being a senior apprentice of teacher Wushan, this competition is really exciting. Seeing this scene, the referee couldn't help but be stunned, and then explained in surprise. The two little ones were nice. But Goku is still a little stronger, I'm afraid Clin won't be able to hold it soon. Jackie Chan's eyes were like torches, and he looked at the two people in the ring with a solemn face, and muttered in a low voice. Brush. In the next second, the figures of the two instantly separated, Clin's head was already dripping with sweat, and Goku looked relaxed. Clin exhaled a long breath, his face couldn't help but become solemn, and suddenly he moved, a bad smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and said to Goku, Goku, look at the flying saucer. Hearing this, Goku looked up with excitement and shouted with excitement, Where? Where is it? Hee, you're fooled. Clin laughed badly, and then jumped and kicked towards Goku, but what he didn't expect was that Goku's figure actually began to become illusory. It's you who was fooled. Goku laughed excitedly, suddenly appeared in front of Clin, and punched out before he landed. Bang! In the next second, Clin flew directly out of the ring and landed on the ground. How so? What happened? Klin looked at Goku with a surprised expression. This is Afterimage Fist. Goku, this guy, actually read it once and learned my tricks. Jackie Chan closed his mouth in surprise and said in disbelief. Klin, it's okay. Goku touched his nose and stepped forward to help Klin up, laughing. Congratulations to our Monkey King player for his victory and successful finalization. Exclamation mark quote. Next, there are invited Midnight players and Jackie Chan players to compete. With Goku and Klin exiting, the referee's loud voice sounded again, and Midnight and Jackie Chan walked out of the backstage and came to the center of the ring. Come on Midnight, hopefully we can compete in the final. Goku said encouragingly. Don't worry, this time the champion will definitely be mine. Midnight smiled, and then said confidently. Not necessarily, I haven't exerted my full strength yet. Goku said not to be outdone. Hearing the conversation between the two, Jackie Chan couldn't help chuckling, and then said lightly. It's good that young people have confidence, but don't be too proud and complacent. If you want to win the championship, pass the old man first. The final four advance to the final, start now. As the referee's voice fell, Jackie Chan walked in front of Midnight, gently patted him on the shoulder, and said, Young man, behave well. I won't show mercy. Hearing this, Midnight couldn't help but smile and shook his head, and then a weird smile crossed his face, and said lightly, It should be you who behaves well. It's a shame to lose to your own disciple. Are you right, Teacher Wushan? Hearing this, Jackie Chan was taken aback, his face couldn't help but become panicked, and he said back, What nonsense are you talking about? I'm not a Wushan teacher. Teacher, no need to pretend, I have already seen through your identity. I also understand why you are here. Midnight shook his head with a smile and said. Then, Midnight stood up and bowed deeply to the Turtle Immortal. How can the Midnight player bow well to the Jackie Chan player? Is he going to admit defeat? Seeing this scene, everyone's faces couldn't help but show a surprised expression, and the referee explained it without knowing why. What are you doing? The Turtle Immortal asked with solemn eyes. Thank you, teacher. I will use the power you taught me to defeat you and prove that your vision cannot be wrong. Midnight explained lightly. Stinky boy, don't be so confident, it's not so simple to be a teacher. The Turtle Immortal nodded and said with a smile. Teacher, I understand your purpose. Rest assured, we will not stand still because of a little victory, because martial arts never ends. Midnight said with a heavy face. Hearing this, the Turtle Immortal's face was suddenly shocked. He didn't expect that the other party could actually say such a thing, and he couldn't help but show a look of relief on his face. Martial arts never ends. Well said, if Teacher Wu Tato sees you, he will definitely like it very much. The Turtle Immortal said with a wistful expression. Come on, let me see what progress you have made during this period of cultivation. The Turtle Fairy said with a solemn face. Good. Midnight nodded, and then stepped hard towards the ground and rushed directly over. Seeing Midnight's action, the Turtle Immortal couldn't help but shake his head in disappointment and said, The whole body is flawed, this is not what I taught you. Immediately afterwards, the Turtle Immortal punched out, and his face changed instantly, and he saw that the figure of the other party rushing over actually became illusory. Nani? Teacher, you're fooled. Bang. In the next second, the voice of Midnight suddenly sounded behind him, and then he kicked out, and the Turtle Immortal flew out directly. Hiss, it hurts. You smelly boy, it's really heavy. The Turtle Immortal touched the old waist that was almost kicked off, slowly stood up, looked at Midnight with a look of relief in his eyes, and then said lightly. Afterimage Fist. I should have thought long ago that Goku has learned it all, and there's no reason why you wouldn't. Hearing this, Midnight chuckled and explained. Haha, teacher, you are so bitter to hide from us, you actually hide so many tricks. Martial arts needs to innovate by itself, but it is not blindly learning other people's tricks. The Turtle Immortal said noncommittally. Teacher, let's take a look at this trick. Saying that, Midnight footsteps turned into a bow shape, hands slowly gathered around his waist, and then white energy instantly condensed. Good boy. If you actually use my trick against me, I don't believe you can still surpass me as a teacher. Quote. Speaking of which, the Turtle Immortal made the same move as Midnight. Turtle, Pi, Chi, Gong, Turtle, Pi, Chi, Gong. Immediately after, Two white energy light pillars collided together, and violent air currents instantly swept around, and then bloomed with dazzling light. Bang! In the next second, the bodies of the two flew out upside down at the same time, but Midnight seemed relatively relaxed. How could there be such a thing? Impossible. Actually defeat me with my tricks. The turtle immortal said with a surprised look. This old man can actually send Qigong. Seeing this scene, Goku touched his chin and said with a puzzled face. In that case, let you see my trick again. Speaking of which, the turtle immortals left an illusory figure in place. Isn't it the afterimage fist? What's great? Midnight shook his head and said with disdain. Here. Immediately afterwards, Midnight's face became serious, and then he turned around and attacked the figure that appeared behind him. You were fooled. Suddenly, the figure of the turtle immortal actually appeared again, attacking towards Midnight from midair. Nani? Immediately afterwards, the face of the turtle immortal changed greatly, and I saw that the figure of Midnight actually became illusory. It's you who was fooled, Teacher Wushan. Bang! As Midnight punched out, the turtle immortal screamed in pain and flew out backwards again. It hurts. How so, you actually? The turtle immortal stood up embarrassed, looking at Midnight with a surprised expression, a little speechless. Teacher, how could I not have thought of the double afterimage fist? Not only that, but I also mastered the triple afterimage fist, so this move has no effect on me. Midnight chuckled and explained lightly. Well, that's awesome. Clint said in surprise. Midnight is really powerful. I really want to try it with him. Goku nodded in agreement. What a good boy, talent can actually go against the sky to this point. The turtle fairy said with a solemn face, and then launched another attack on the Midnight. In that case, then you can try my trick again. I can't ask for it. Teacher, you'd better give me all your tricks today. Midnight said with a look of anticipation. After speaking, I saw that the body of the turtle immortal was slightly inclined, and his steps began to become irregular, but he looked invulnerable, and he looked like he was drunk. This is drunk fist. Midnight said with a solemn face. Seeing the tricks of the turtle immortals, Goku said with a surprised look, huh. That was the most common trick used by my dead grandfather, and I didn't expect this grandfather to too. Midnight chuckled, and immediately attacked over, not thinking that his move was directly missed, and then the turtle immortal punched himself, and took several steps back. In that case, then I'm welcome. Midnight laughed strangely, and then his steps began to beat gently. Woo! After bursting into a loud voice, he attacked again, and this time Midnight directly intercepted the attack of the turtle immortal and threw out a punch. What kind of punch are you? The turtle immortal asked in surprise. This is my self-created boxing method, Jeet Fist. Midnight touched his nose and responded unceremoniously. Jeet-kun. Kind of interesting. Quote. The turtle immortal touched his chin and said lightly. Immediately, his face became solemn, and he said in a deep voice. Seeing that you have this kind of strength as a teacher, I am relieved. Next I will use my own tricks. If I can't hold it, admit defeat. Saying that, the turtle immortal's brows frowned slightly, his expression became serious, his hands were tightly clasped, and then a faint thunder and lightning surrounded his body, which continuously gathered on his palms. All nations shock. Ha! Immediately afterwards, the turtle cactus stretched out his palms, and strong thunder and lightning shot out, wrapped in all parts of Midnight's body, and the strong electric attack made Midnight's body tremble, and then severe pain surged throughout his body. Yes. What is this thing? Midnight seems painful. Goku said suspiciously. Midnight. Bulma cried as she covered her mouth and looked worried. Midnight, admit defeat. If it goes on like this, you will die. The turtle immortal said with a solemn face. What the hell is this? This is tens of thousands of watts of electricity that I converted the power of my whole body into. Your body can't bear it, admit defeat. Hearing this, Midnight's brows furrowed, and the severe pain almost made him lose consciousness, and his head fell into a drowsy. Immediately afterwards, the picture of the turtle immortal performing tricks suddenly continued to rehearse in Midnight's mind, and the memories of his previous life seemed to be integrated into it. His lips moved slightly, and he whispered softly, electricity. The law of energy conversion. I see. Ah. The next moment, Midnight's eyes suddenly woke up, and then his palms stretched out, and the strength of his whole body began to be continuously transformed. What do you want to do? Nope. Impossible, this can't be. The Turtle Immortal said with a look of disbelief. All nations are shocking. Midnight's face froze, and the electricity surrounding his body slowly gathered on his palms, and then he drank violently, and the strong electricity began to fight back, flowing through Midnight's body to the Turtle Immortal. Hiss! Ah! The Turtle Immortal's face changed wildly, and he quickly retracted his palms. The piercing pain made him scream, and the wig on his head was instantly electrocuted into powder, and the whole person collapsed to the ground in embarrassment. Woo! Teacher Wushan. Clin looked at the Turtle Immortal who had returned to its original state in the field and said with a surprised expression. Huh. How does this grandfather look so similar to the grandfather? Oh. I understand. They must be relatives. Goku's eyes lit up, and he said lightly. Hearing this, Clin couldn't help but roll his eyes, not wanting to pay attention to Goku anymore. Teacher, what other tricks do you have is to come out, so that I can become stronger? Midnight touched his nose and said proudly. Hee hee, Midnight, you are really good. The Turtle Immortal chuckled, then slowly stood up, with a relieved look on his face, and spoke again. It's really happy to see that you can grow to this point. Saying that, the Turtle Immortal turned around and walked towards the edge of the ring, and then jumped and jumped. Teacher. Seeing this scene, Midnight's heart tightened and he whispered softly. What the hell is going on here? The Jackie Chan player actually jumped out of the ring himself, and the Midnight player won this match. As the referee's voice sounded again, everyone in the audience was boiling. After all, this game was quite exciting for them. What? It turns out that Jackie Chan is pretending to be that old man, dressed like this to bully my family at night. It's really tasteless. Bulma pouted and said with an unhappy look. When did Midnight become your home? People don't seem to have accepted you yet, do they? Oolong couldn't help but roll his eyes and said. Bang! I want you to take care of it. Bulma punched Oolong directly in the head and shouted angrily. Congratulations to the Midnight contestants for winning the competition. I really didn't expect that the final was actually two masters of Teacher Wushan. I believe they will definitely take us a very wonderful match. After an hour's break, the championship and runner-up finals of the world's first martial arts conference officially begin. Let's wait and see. As the referee's voice sounded, Midnight left the ring amid the cheers of everyone, and the moment he just stepped backstage, Goku ran over excitedly and said excitedly, Midnight, congratulations. Rest well, next is our match, I can't wait. Hearing this, Midnight nodded with a smile, and then walked towards the lounge. Soon, an hour passed, and Midnight's physical strength also recovered, and after opening the door of the lounge, he came to the ring again. Welcome everyone to the final venue of the world's first martial arts conference. Who will spend the final champion? Let's wait and see. Now I announce the start of the game. Boom. As the gong sounded, Goku did not have any hesitation and directly attacked Midnight. Probably knowing Midnight's strength, he launched a fierce attack on it from the beginning. Brush. Brush. The figures of the two kept shuttling in the ring, and they had already exchanged dozens of moves with just one face. Midnight, bring out all your strength. Goku said solemnly. Then you have to be careful. Midnight chuckled, then stepped forward slightly, made a bow, and then slowly wrapped his hands around his waist, and the white energy began to slowly condense. Turtle, Pi, Chi, Gong. With a burst of drink at midnight, the white energy light pillar directly shot out. Wukong saw this and did not hesitate at all. Also used the Turtle School Qigong. Two strong energies collided together, the explosion sounded, blooming dazzling light. In the next second, Goku's body flew out directly upside down and fell heavily on the ring. Brush. In the next second, Midnight's figure moved quickly and came to Goku's side, and before he could stand up, Midnight directly stretched out his hand and grabbed the other's tail. Goku, you lost. Midnight said with a smile. Goku's face changed when he was caught by the tail, and his whole body instantly lost any strength, and he fell limply to the ground, and said weakly, You. How do you know my weaknesses? You don't need to know that. This time, remember to change your shortcomings, and I will laugh at the champion. With that, Midnight grabbed Goku's tail and flicked it hard, throwing it out of the ring. Sun Wukong player fell out of the ring. Congratulations to the Midnight player for winning the championship of this world's first martial arts conference and receiving a bonus of 500,000 yuan. The referee walked into the ring, grabbed Midnight's right hand and raised it, and then said excitedly. What a shame. Midnight, when I overcome my weakness, I will definitely challenge you again. Goku stood up and said seriously to Midnight. Okay, I'll wait for you. Dear audience, the world's first martial arts conference officially ended today. Thank you for coming, be careful on the way back, we will see you in the next conference. With the end of the world's first martial arts conference, everyone in the field also dispersed, and the originally lively scene gradually became quiet. As the sun fell, Midnight, Wukong, Klin, Yamcha and the Turtle Immortal slowly walked out of the venue at dusk. Bulma saw this and quickly ran over, and said excitedly, congratulations on winning the championship of the competition. Thank you. Midnight chuckled, nodded, and responded. By the way, I just won the bonus, let me invite everyone to dinner today. Midnight suddenly said with a smile. Okay. Great, finally something to eat. Goku said with drooling. Subsequently, under the leadership of Midnight, several people came to a high-end cafeteria. Midnight is not stupid, the bonus of 500,000 yuan is not enough for Wukong to eat, this is naturally the best choice. Subsequently, several people ate heartily in the cafeteria, and Wukong's food intake completely stunned everyone, and even more shocked the owner and manager of the cafeteria, but when they opened the door to do business, they had to endure the pain of feeding Wukong's rice bucket, and after seeing the 400,000 yuan left at Midnight at checkout, the ugly expression on his face eased slightly. After dinner, the group returned to their respective hotels to rest, and the next morning, everyone gathered again for a final farewell. I wonder what you guys are planning now. Or do you want to go back to practice? Yamcha looked at the three of them and asked curiously. Of course. Klin nodded and said. Hearing this, the Turtle Immortal shook his head again and refused. No, I don't have anything to hand over to you. From now on, you will go your own way. Yes. The three nodded and agreed. I'll go find the Dragon Balls left by my grandfather. Goku touched his head and said lightly. Goku, are you still going to find the Dragon Ball? Hearing Bulma's inquiry, Goku nodded seriously. This is the only relic that Grandpa left me. Immediately Bulma no longer dissuaded, and quietly approached Dao Zai's side, touched his rosy face, and said shyly. Midnight, what are your plans next? Do you want to come to my house to play? My home is huge. Hearing Bulma's words, Midnight was silent for a moment, then shook his head and said with a smile. I'm sorry, Bulma, forget it this time. I want to go out alone and go to you when I have time. All right. Whatever you want. Midnight's answer obviously made Bulma very dissatisfied, and said with an unhappy look on her lips. Seeing this, Midnight couldn't help but smile bitterly and shook his head, although he understood Bulma's feelings for himself, but now Bulma is only 17 years old, he just has a heart, and he really can't get his hands off. Klin, what about you? Midnight turned to Klin and asked. I want to stay with Teacher Wushan for the time being. After thinking for a moment, Klin replied. Hearing this, the Turtle Immortal was stunned, and immediately refused. No. No need, you can stand on your own now, there is no need to follow me anymore. No. I'm not mature enough to stand on my own. Klin said with a resolute look. All right. Hearing this, the Turtle Immortal was not good to refuse, and agreed against his will, and then couldn't help muttering in a low voice, I originally thought that I could live in the two-person world with Lan Chi. Midnight, are you going to go with me to find the Dragon Balls, or are you going to go out and wander by yourself? Goku walked up to Midnight and asked suspiciously. I want to go out and see for myself, let's see you again. Saying that, Midnight waved his hand at a few people, and with this face taxi, he flew away. Looking at the figure that was far away at Midnight, Bulma looked a little moved, put her hands to her mouth, and shouted loudly, Hey, remember to come to Exedu to find me when you have time. Then I'll go too. Duyun. Seeing Midnight departing, Goku took the Dragon Ball radar from Bulma, sat on the somersault cloud, and flew towards the sky. After saying goodbye to everyone, Midnight finally found the location of the Carinta after walking for nearly a month with the only remaining memories of his previous life. Finally found the right place. Midnight looked at the towering giant tower in front of him and said with a long breath. What are you? Suddenly, a voice sounded behind Midnight, slowly turned around, and saw a stout man standing in front of him. His complexion was brownish yellow. He was holding a spear in his hand, and beside him was a child dressed like him, staring at him with a serious face. I'm not malicious, I just want to challenge this Corinta. Midnight said lightly. So it is. Legend has it that just by climbing this tower, you can gain several times the power. The big man looked at the tall tower in front of him and said with a slightly moved face. When I was young, I tried to challenge myself, but I couldn't see the end of the tower. Young man, you better go back. The big man kindly reminded. Don't worry, I'm sure. Midnight said firmly. Saying that, Midnight's legs bent slightly, and then his feet stepped the ground, and his body instantly came to a height of 30 meters, and then he hugged the pillar of Corinta, and then quickly climbed up. Dad, this big brother looks so powerful. This scene, the big man was shocked and a little speechless. He was the first time he saw someone who could jump so high, nodded his head again and praised. Well, maybe he can really succeed. After climbing for nearly 30 minutes, Midnight finally saw the top of the tower, and his face couldn't help but become excited, and then he summoned up his whole body strength again and rushed up. Is this the top of the Carantha Tower? Strange, why no one? Midnight looked at the empty environment around him and said with a puzzled expression. Immediately, his eyes locked on the three strange altars not far away, and after slowly walking over, he casually picked up the lid of one of the altars. Looking down and reliable, I saw that the jar was filled with clear water, and the next second, the surface of the water rippled faintly, and then a blurry picture suddenly appeared in the water, and then gradually became clear. Groove. When he saw the picture inside the altar clearly, a foul language directly burst out at Midnight. The blurred picture in the water gradually became clear, and I saw Bulma's snow-white skin in full view, and the water droplets falling from her head fell across her skin and fell to the bathroom floor. Who's talking? It seems like the sound of Midnight. You big colored wolf, you actually peeked at me bathing, you hurry up and give me out. Bulma covered the snow-white mountain in front of her, her face slightly red, and shouted angrily. Just as I was about to speak, the picture in the water became blurred again until it disappeared. What's going on? After reaching out and salvaging in the water, Midnight said suspiciously. What you saw just now is just what you imagined. Suddenly, a strange sound sounded, and Midnight quickly turned around, only to see a fat cat with a white body with a cane appearing in front of him. Young man, it's amazing, he actually climbed up. The white cat licked his paws and said. Introduce yourself, my name is Karen Immortal, you should have come here to find super holy water, right? The white cat asked with a flat face. Super holy water. Hearing this familiar name, Midnight couldn't help but smile, and then nodded faintly. Super holy water is in this bottle. But before that, I want to ask you a question, why do you want to become stronger? Don't lie, I call myself an immortal, and I still understand the most basic mind reading. Bai Mao's eyes narrowed slightly, and he said in a solemn tone. I just want to be a strong person, if I have to find a reason, it is that I want to live better. Midnight replied with a serious look. Live. This reason is a novelty. With your current strength, it seems that there are not many people in this world who can beat you, right? Hearing this, the white cat couldn't help but be stunned, and then spoke again. No now, doesn't mean no later. Aren't you an immortal? You should be able to see if what I said is true. Midnight said with a flat face. Hearing this, the white cat couldn't help but laugh bitterly, and then shook his head and said, to be honest, your heart is very strange, sometimes it is as calm as the surface of a lake, sometimes it is as turbulent as the waves, I can't see anything. However, I will gladly give you the super holy water. Oh. Why? Midnight asked suspiciously. I believe that your master's vision will not be wrong. But before that, you have to beat me. The white cat responded lightly. That's exactly what I mean. Brush. In the next second, Midnight's body moved, and he quickly rushed towards the other party. The fist in his hand was clenched tightly, and he slammed it up with all his strength. However, at the moment of the attack, the white cat suddenly showed a strange smile on his face, and with a slight movement of his body, he easily dodged Midnight's attack, and then the crutch in his hand hit Midnight's head. Hiss, it hurts. Midnight covered his head and said. Young man, let's continue. Good. Midnight stood up, his face became solemn, and in the next second, the two exchanged hands again. Half a month later. Karen Immortal, you are not necessarily my opponent this time. Midnight laughed softly, and then his body turned into dozens of afterimages and surrounded the white cat, which couldn't help but make him a little dazzled. How did this stinky boy progress so fast? Since accidentally beating him into a serious injury a few days ago, his strength has suddenly skyrocketed so much. The white cat gritted his teeth and said a little angrily. Okay, don't fight. I throw in the towel. Super holy water is yours. Hee hee, Karen Immortal, you don't really think I don't know it's Shimizu, do you? Midnight touched his nose and said with a smile. This. I didn't expect to be discovered by you. The white cat said a little embarrassed. Huh. Something big seems to be happening down there. Hearing the white cat's words, Midnight couldn't help but be stunned, and then walked to his side and followed his gaze. I saw that Goku had actually come to the bottom of the Corinta, and at this time he was dueling with a middle-aged uncle, who was the #1 killer in the world, and he was white. And beside the two, there was a big man who was pierced by a spear, the one he saw before midnight, and his child Upa was lying on his body, crying bitterly. Seeing that the big man was killed, Goku became angry, and immediately used the strength of his whole body to rush towards the other party. Don't measure yourself. At this time, Taobai Baibai always maintained a calm appearance, and seemed to be completely unconcerned about Goku's attack, only to see him jump slightly, and then dodged Goku's all-out blow, and then hit Goku's key point with a kick, directly kicking Goku out. Goku gritted his teeth and stood up in severe pain. Oh. It's not dead. A look of surprise appeared on Momobai's face, and then a murderous aura emerged, his figure flashed, and he came to Goku in the blink of an eye. Bang! Immediately afterwards, a kick was kicked on Goku's stomach. Goku screamed in pain and flew directly into the air, but Momo Baibai did not intend to give him a chance to react. The figure moved again, and in an instant came to Goku's side, his hands were tightly clasped together, and he slammed down. Ah! Goku shouted, his body fell from the sky, and he fell violently on the ground, smashing a small hole. Unbeaten imp. After saying something disdainfully, he was just about to turn around and leave, but he heard Goku's voice sound again, and his footsteps couldn't help but pause. It hurts. It hurts. Pain to death. Goku covered the wounds on his body, endured the severe pain and struggled to get up from the ground, crying out in pain. Nani? It's all right. Taobai said with a surprised face, and then his face became fierce, and he said viciously, in that case, don't blame me for being unkind. Quote. Dongdongbo, go and die little turtle. Peach Baibai's face froze, his finger was aimed at Wukong, and the golden energy shot out instantly. Bang! As a huge explosion sounded, white smoke swirled around Goku, obscuring Momo's vision. Goku! Uba shouted with tears in his eyes. This should always be dead. Momo Bai said lightly. It should be you who dies. Big brother. Upa exclaimed with a look of excitement. As the smoke cleared, Midnight's figure appeared in front of Goku, blocking the fatal blow for Goku. Goku, are you all right? Midnight, why are you here? Goku asked with a look of excitement. Thanks for watching.